So I arrived and someone's just dumped a huge suitcase full of something at the front door, and I can hear someone around the back doing the same. If they came and knocked on the door, that would be polite. I would be kind. But just turning up and dumping stuff, never nice, not acceptable, and usually means that you're trying to hide something, love. Scratch that. I just opened the back door and I've discovered it's actually the undertaker's, and I forgot there's a bit of a big funeral happening in town today. Don't know who the person was, but a lot of his family were in my shop yesterday purchasing things, and they've come over from the Isle of Man. Also, got myself a mug of coffee. This is my work mug. Chipped because a volunteer chose to hide it when another volunteer used it. Now, yesterday, volunteer made me a cup of coffee. I'd asked for a strong one specifically because I hadn't slept the night before, and naturally we decide to ruin our lives. They thought they'd made a strong cup of coffee, and it makes me question what I call strong, because that was just like standard for me. So there's an update for you. I think I'm more addicted to caffeine than I previously thought, because I need a lot of it to get any sort of buzz nowadays. I remember the first time I tried coffee. Oh, it was a thrill a minute. I'd never had it before. I was buzzing, although I was supremely overweight and had sugar in it as well, so there's every chance that had something to do with it. Either way, I am at work. It is 20 to 9 in the morning on the 30th of December 2021, and on Tuesday night, the night before I was due to come in between Christmas and New Year, I had a stunning revelation. So the whole reason I did overtime is because my colleague said there was no point her being in one day this week, and I agreed, not recognising the fact that had I checked the rota, I would have only been in half a day this week, Friday, so I could have booked that half a day off, come in on Christmas Eve and ended up with 2 weeks off. Instead, I booked Christmas Eve off and had 10 days. I should have thought about this. I mean, I know I feel like I'm doing something mildly kind because I'm going, my manager's getting to be off today, get a bit of time in for Christmas, which she doesn't usually get. But me and kindness don't generally go together, so I just feel completely naive and silly for not looking at the rota sooner. Anyway, I thought I'd document these last 2 days of the year. I might have to speak to you on the first day of the new year, which might just throw this out completely. I planned on starting it yesterday. Got here thinking I got here quite early, and the volunteer I said about who made the coffee turned into the car park about 2 seconds after I switched the camera on. Well, it was 18, but still. I even had time to speak, and he was here. And I thought I'd finally beat him. Firstly, because he wasn't going to be here. But I do know why he gets here so early, so he can go and have a bacon butty. But still, no time to get in here and record. Anyway, reading Honeycomb by Joanne M. Harris. Got to finish that over the next 2 days. And Nigel Slater's Christmas Chronicles. And I wanted to read that other book that was in Helen Hanff's 84 Charing Cross Road, the one that appears at the end of my copy, and have that as the last book I read this year before reading 84 Charing Cross Road with Sarah of Hardcover Hearts and all of her posse again. Her gang. Well, actually just everybody else who's reading it too on New Year's Day. But we'll see how that goes. And I say we'll see how this goes, because I planned on reading last night and instead I ended up watching the new Disney film Encanto, which I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I thought that there was some great music in there, but the overall story felt a bit muddy and rushed. But I would probably go back and watch it for the songs, and I'd probably watch it again to see whether I thought it was muddy and rushed again, now that I know where the story's going, to think about the trajectory and everything. But with the film I watched the other day, I thought that had some really good storytelling immediately. So, I don't know. I'm going to make my mother watch it anyway and see what she thinks. Which won't work well, because she famously likes what everyone else calls terrible movies. And I don't think that this one's terrible. I just... felt like, yeah, I just think it was rushed and didn't tell the story to the best of its ability. Anyway, the shop's creaking, so I'm going to go and find out why. I should also say that in terms of reading Honeycomb by Joanne M. Harris, it's a slow read for me, not just because of the month and having more going on, but because of the way it's told with all these individual stories. And so it's very easy, similar to a short story collection, for me to put it aside and return to a few days later, where it tells the story of the Lacewing King, which is I suppose, similar to when I was looking at the Legend of Monkey that I read last year, where it was tales of Monkey and then there were all these different side tales. So the trajectory of the story is all about the Lacewing King's story and the people he's met and his growth or lack thereof of character. Meanwhile, you have these other folk tales and fairy tales that the author has written herself that sometimes, or more often than not, are allegories for our world, what's going on now. And I'm enjoying it. But whilst I am enjoying it, like I say, I found it easy to put aside. But I only have, I think I'm at 380 of 400. Yeah, I'm at 380 of what I think is 420 pages. So I should be able to finish it tonight, unless I decide to go and watch another film. And yeah, the Christmas Chronicles I'll finish tomorrow, and no problem. It's just how I go about it, finishing it. I read it last year, finished it on New Year's Eve. I'm going to read it this year and finish it on New Year's Eve. Maybe it's a new Christmas tradition. We'll see. I probably could have chosen something more literary and fantastic, couldn't I? Right. Is that all I've got to say? I don't know. Also, I'm hoping that whoever donated this jumper doesn't come in today, because whilst every single bit of clothing I'm wearing today came from the charity shop, I always feel awkward wearing something that only came in rather recently, because it means that the owner could come in and see it. It's not the same with my shoes. These shoes came off a dead man. I don't think he's going to want them back. Similarly, the shirt came out of a rag bag, but the jumper? Well, I could always lie. There was more. Not many customers at the moment, Chuck. No, not many customers at all. Yesterday, I mean, it's fine for wandering around and getting stuff done, but even me volunteers are limiting their hours. Makes perfect sense, you know. We are in that liminal space between Christmas and New Year. Just wanted to use the word liminal. And so they're not really buying much, or they're buying little bits and bobs because there might be someone they forgot to get for Christmas. That happened a lot yesterday. And some of you people, you need to get better partners for life, you know. Because, I mean, if they've got you what you want, that's fine. but I really don't think you're going to be thanking anybody for a snowman tea light holder. No. Good luck to you, love. It's about 4:05 and I've closed the shop. Volunteers gone home, but it's been a weird one, a difficult one. So I expected 2 volunteers to turn in this morning and neither did. Usually this would mean that I have to leave the shop shut because I'm not supposed to open without anybody here, but considering it had been quiet yesterday, I thought I'll lock the back door and stand in the space between the shop and the back room, which is what I did for the 3 hours before a volunteer came in. And it was quiet. But during that time, I got a message off my colleague who I covered for yesterday to inform me that she has had a positive test for COVID and thus will not be in next week, and therefore I'll be covering next week as well, which is fine. However, there was part of me that was looking forward to getting this week off, for I only had, once I'd finished running around, 4 days off at Christmas, which, is more than a lot of people in retail get. Most of them are back in working on Boxing Day, so I should be grateful for my 4 days. And so I'll have another 4 this weekend and then be back in next Wednesday. Otherwise, it's been quiet again today, and it always is during this period between Christmas and New Year, when I worked at a different shop, which famously we had to close down due to the lack of money coming in. My first Christmas there, I was due in on the 27th, and the 27th is just a weird day. No, the 27th is not a weird day. The 27th is an inopportune day. So the first year, I got in to work feeling really ill, like just tonsillitis. But I got a phone call from my colleague who was supposed to be in saying she'd had a crash. So after about an hour of trying to ring around, figure out what I'm supposed to do, because of no volunteers, I'm not allowed to open. It was a huge premises then. We had a cafe, we had everything. I got told to go home. And then the following year, I wasn't in until New Year's Eve, went in on New Year's Eve and didn't have a single customer come into the shop. So was just there the entire, well, we used to work till 1. And was there from 8:30 till 1:30 and didn't see a customer. And it's just been a variety of quiet Christmases since then. So much so that for the last 2, I haven't actually worked it because of it being dead. So I've always booked my holidays off around now. But this year I thought I'd allow the other 2 to do that. Give back, be kind. But this should have been the last year that I booked a holiday because of the way the year falls next year. But, the way Christmas falls next year. But I've never been good at pre-planning, clearly. And things like this happen, meaning that even if I'd booked this week off, I would have ended up having to come in due to this latest diagnosis. Either way, I am going to cash up now. I'm debating going across to the supermarket. I don't know whether I should, because part of me thinks to go over and grab some bits and then go home. But part of me also just wants to go home and either read or watch another film before I'm back here tomorrow. Either way, thanks for being me soundboard today. I probably won't talk to you as much tomorrow because the volunteer who comes in will be here at about 8:30 when I get here. So it might just be a very late one when I've gone home and finished all my reading before midnight. Silly. When I said it. I've accidentally used too much of a new hair product in my hair, so it's like I've glued every follicle to my scalp. And mildly crunchy, I might add. Who wants crunchy hair? It is now 8:20 on a Friday, and it is much too dark for me to record in my car. So we're in the shop, and we're supposed to close at 1 today, and I know that my area manager's coming in this morning. I know that my volunteer's going to want to clean up, and so I can imagine we're actually going to be here till normal leaving hours, which is exactly what happened on Wednesday. I had to close early because of a lack of volunteers, but I was still here until my usual time of leaving. So this is it for the duration, folks. The kettle's boiling in the background. I hope that it's not too loud for you. Anyway, I've started this whole new thing as well. I don't fill the kettle when I get here in the morning. I just put enough in to make one for me and then fill it for everybody else when they get here. And I'm sure that's no revelation to anybody, but I usually fill it, feel considerate, and then wait around for about 50 years. I finished reading not just Honeycomb last night, but the Christmas Chronicles as well, which means that with any luck I'll be able to read The Duchess of Bloomsbury by Helen Hanff when I get home. One moment, please. You're back on the printer. So at the start of this year, when I first saw that my copy of 84 Charing Cross Road had 2 books in, and the second one was also relatively short at about 160 pages, I wanted to bookend the year with that. And dependent on how I find the book, this could be a tradition. I don't think it will be. I'm not all about these traditions. It's just the way things have gone this year. But then that should be the end of things for the year, really. Today is the final day of 2021. And I was looking back over the books I've read this year last night in preparation for my best books of 2021 video, my top 10. And there were books where it felt like it can't have been so long since I last read them because it still feels so fresh. And there were other books that I'd particularly liked earlier this year that I couldn't remember having read this year and thought it must have happened ages ago because so much of the story, plot and character had gone missing from my mind. So it's going to be interesting to put this top 10 together. I've made a note of 13 books so far with a cursory top 10 and then 3 outliers. And I'm going to see how I feel about that because I don't know. I look at the list and I think, yeah, I enjoyed all of those books. But also I think that is there perhaps an alternative top 10 that I've not thought about? Anyway, I do have plans for that. And once I've made my coffee, I'm not going to tell you about them. Also, I'm wearing all blue today, apart from my trousers, of course. But whenever I wear one singular colour, matching the socks, I always think this would be a great day for Zordon to call me and decide that I could finally be a Power Ranger. See, I always wanted to be the Blue Ranger because I felt like there was a less responsibility there. Or yellow, but yellow's not really my colour. But such is the way of the world. Anyway, I don't think they ever had an overweight arthritic Power Ranger. I think I would just have to be a villain. But even that seems like a bit of work, and I wasn't built to be a side character. I also really like the idea of getting the Blue Wolf Ninja Zord, because I like dogs, and we had loads of border collies, so I thought, you know what? I was built for this. Anyway, I don't think today is that day. But even my car's blue. I am currently hiding in my sister's room because I didn't arrive home until late. I waited around for my area managers to show up. Didn't happen. So eventually my manager told me to go home. We closed at 1. I, for the first time ever, had made a huge mistake on the till. I forgot to cash off yesterday, so had to redo all of the figures today, which actually ends up quite easy when you just start again and decide to do everything from fresh. But it still took me the best part of an hour and a half to get that done. We're trying to get the Christmas stock out so that it's a bit fresh for Tuesday, and I've said that yes, I will go and do that overtime on Wednesday because of the colleague who has had to take the week off due to a positive test. So now I'm home. It's about 6:45. I'm considering a bath to get all of this horrible gel out of my hair, but I also want to read The Duchess of Bloomsbury by Helen Hanff still. We're just going to have a weird little buffet thing for tea, so weird is my new favourite adjective apparently. Anyway, I might update you later. I might not. We'll see. Why yes, I am wearing a near floor-length hooded blanket with sleeves, and I refuse to be questioned about my life choices. I'm also wearing a hat because after speaking to you yesterday, I really couldn't cope with the feeling of the new gel in my hair. So I had a bath, and it was my third of the week, and I don't regret that either. I don't regret choosing to spend the end of what I found a particularly stressful time, because it wasn't like huge numbers of stress. It wasn't the worst experience in the world stress-wise. It was just little things that felt not insurmountable because we got past them, but they were there. And so I went off for a bath. Didn't listen to an audiobook either. Didn't take the Duchess of Bloomsbury into the bath with me. Who were? I just listened to a few tracks off Lana Del Rey's Honeymoon. I even kept that quite low, you know. Didn't have the volume too high. Kept it quiet. Just didn't even luxuriate. It was just like, goodbye world, I will return when I'm refreshed. Which is also why the dog's not gone out for a walk today, because I've been awake for less than an hour. I didn't get up till 10. But to be fair, I didn't go to sleep until after 2, so. Anyway, I said that I would give you my thoughts on Honeycomb by Joanne M. Harris. To take you back to what I said on Thursday, this is a book that the primary story is about the Lacewing King and his adventures throughout the various different worlds. And the folk/fairy tales that Joanne Harris has created here all draw on other myths and legends throughout. I felt made it somewhat more accessible, because if you knew the fairy tales that the author was referencing, or the other stories that she was referencing, or maybe perhaps knew of something similar that the author might not have been referencing, but you made a connection there, then I felt like it made this more accessible. Sometimes I felt like the fairy tales could get somewhat repetitive, and I wasn't sure about their inclusion. However, towards the end, I recognised that this wasn't just a novel about the Lacewing King, but it is a collection that spans the entire world that the author is trying to craft. So whilst we do have the primary story here, you have all of these different stories that are helping to flavour the world and explore the cruelties of the fairy-like characters that are within its pages. I liked to see the story of the Lacewing King, how he grew as a character. I liked that sort of thing where we're shown a perhaps more villainous character, maybe
a character stuck in his own arrogance who doesn't recognise his behaviour. I liked the journey that the author took him on, and I like that this isn't a novel in the standard form. You know, it is more of a collection of different disparate vignettes coming together to tell this entire narrative of a world that is filled with fantastical elements. And it's one of those where the author has managed to keep the voice of the omniscient narrator throughout, which I think sometimes can be lost because we're taught certain methods to craft sentences and craft paragraphs and stories in a way that will make them more entertaining and enthralling to the reader. And sometimes in this sort of book, an author can fall into that, losing the voice that they have created at the beginning. And I know I mentioned it with the House of whatever it was last month, that often I will see books begin with this sort of voice that we've come to associate with fairy stories, and it works really well and it's going well, but then they lose it because they decide to go with more modern writing techniques in order to try and grip the reader. But the author here doesn't do that. The author here keeps that very measured tone. That doesn't stop the excitement, it doesn't stop the pace of the stories, but it is a more slow, methodical read where you'll be smiling at moments when you think that the author is discussing a current world event through allegory, and what the author is doing is allowing the reader to bring their own knowledge of what's going on in the world and perhaps make connections that are there, might not be there. There's a lot to think about and unpick with this book, to question and look at, and just have fun with, and just settle back and enjoy. This was a book that I read over 3 weeks, and I really enjoyed the slow pace I took with it, the time to mull over the Lacewing King's adventures. And whilst reading this, it made me want to go back and read Rune Marks and Rune Light, a book that I famously still never read because I despise the cover. Got some great new covers now that match up with the Gospel of Loki and the Testament of Loki. I still haven't got because I don't know that I can do that. But yeah, Honeycomb, not my favourite of the authors, but a thoroughly enjoyable experience nonetheless. And then we come to The Duchess of Bloomsbury, which is included in my copy of 84 Charing Cross Road. And I enjoyed this. I liked that it was more of a diary format this time round as opposed to letters, although there are a few letters in there. I liked that the author of 84 Charing Cross Road is actually finally getting to visit Charing Cross Road, although that comes with its own sadnesses because the London that she arrives at is not what she expected of London, isn't what she'd envisaged. And I think that that's this universal feeling that oftentimes when we're approaching something, we can end up disappointed because we built it up so much in our mind and we're expecting a certain thing. We want the perfect day, and you know, we're expecting sunshine and we're expecting it to be almost cinematic and capture the best of the area that we have envisaged, because that is what we have seen on the films and the image we've created for ourselves in our mind, and it deals with that. And I just found a wry sort of humour here. There was comedy, there were tales of some misadventure here, and I enjoyed the aspect where we have to kind of cope with this very big shift between who Helen Hanff was when she started writing 84 Charing Cross Road and who she is in The Duchess of Bloomsbury. And I'm looking forward to rereading 84 Charing Cross Road today, along with Sarah of Hardcover Hearts, who's holding a read-along, and other people are getting involved in it. And I like that idea of loads of people reading the same book at the same time on the same day, and that's 84 Charing Cross Road. It's relatively short, so I'll be getting that done today. And I will admit that whilst reading The Duchess of Bloomsbury, I then wanted to read all of the books that I have been inspired to read by Sarah, such as Square Haunting, which is about an area of Bloomsbury, or the Anita Bruckners that I've got. One from the library that's been here for months. I think I've had it for nearly 6 months now. And Brief Lives, at least I think that's what it's called, that I borrowed off Joy in March. Also, I was using this as a bookmark last night. One of my volunteers made me a card. Isn't that nice? I mean, she made cards for a few people, but I don't know. I liked it. And I arrived home to 2 books yesterday, and I would have talked about them last night, but I couldn't really do much talking because my brother and father were home, and my brother was in his room, which was why you got that short clip of me in my sister's bedroom. So I got Still Life by Sarah Winman. I will just say as well, once again, Waterstones sending me books that are damaged. Last time I took them back to the shop. This time I'm not going to do that, but, you know, I need them to up the game. I don't like receiving damaged goods, basically. Waterstones sale happened last week. I'll probably be recording a haul once all of the books have arrived. But because the last few years, Waterstones have always had their sale between Christmas and the New Year, I haven't asked for many books for Christmas. I've asked for books that I don't necessarily think will end up in the sale, you know, backlisted titles, which is how I ended up with The Hobbit and The Lying Life of Adults. I know The Lying Life of Adults was this year, but well, I don't think it ended up in the sale anyway. But the rest of the books, I wait, and I've saved a bit of money for myself, and I wait for the sale, and I just go to town. So I got Still Life by Sarah Winman. Very, very surprised by the length and width of this one, because usually they can fit on my normal shelves. This is one of those hardbacks that can only fit on one of these shelves, meaning I've got to make some room. I wasn't going to get this book because it's a weird one. I've enjoyed everything I've read by Sarah Winman, and I've read all of the books that she's released. But I got rid of the first 2, thinking I'd never reread them. Kept Tin Man. And so this one, we have 1994, Tuscany. Oh, and that was it. It was the sexagenarian art historian who's come to Italy because, oh, and they're going to Florence. Well, we all know I want to go to Florence. So, well, there we go. That was it. Italy, and an older character did this for me. And then we have Storyland, a new mythology of Britain, which is rather heavy indeed. But this book originally cost £25, and as much as I wanted it, and as much as I know that buying it reduced might have an impact on the author, and that's a horrible thing, I couldn't warrant paying £25 for it. I was going to wait for it to come into the charity shop, but when I saw that it was on sale, this was the first thing that went into my basket. We're getting Myths and Legends from Britain that have been retold by Amy Jeffs. At least that's what I think it is. That's why I bought it. And that is this video done. It's now 2022. This is the year in which I will be entering my 3rd decade. Can you believe it? I can't. I cannot. Because, well, there's so many things that I thought I would have achieved by the age of 30. And I ain't achieved them. And then you have to think, well, life often isn't like that, is it really? It never goes how you planned it. And quite oftentimes you can't plan it. Either way, I hope that if you were out celebrating, that you were safe and that you had a good time. And I hope that going forward, 2022 proves a bit prosperous, a bit wondrous, and that once again, as I said last week, and I talk about often, you just need to find the joy in the smallest moments of your day. Don't go forth looking at everyone's perfect lives on the internet, or who you think has got a perfect life. Don't be doing that, no. What you got to do is you got to make yourself a good brew. If you don't drink tea or coffee, you don't imbibe that sort of thing, have one of your favourite drinks or one of your favourite foods and just find joy in that. Or reread a book. If it's a favourite book, enjoy some time with that. Start indulging in poetry. Find a poet you like and then read a poem by them every single day. If you're reading poetry every day by somebody you enjoy, well, there you go already. You've got your joy sorted for you. Anyway, I'm not out here being a life coach because, quite frankly, I'm a northerner and outside of toast and tea, I can't really help thee. Oh, but also, look. Blue and yellow today. See, well, actually, this is more of a robe, so I'm definitely going for villainy here. Either villainy, or I need to grow a white beard and my hair needs to change colour, although it's happening. You know, we found a few white hairs. Oh, white rabbits, New Year's Day. I don't know whether you're supposed to say white rabbits on a January. Anyway, if I got all bearded and the like, I can't grow facial hair. But if I did, I could be a mentor. I don't want to be a mentor because they always get killed in the first act. I tell you, I didn't sign up for this. Oh well, that's me. That's the end of 2021, that's the end of a year. I now have today off, Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm back in work. And it's like no time at all to properly celebrate. And then I've got to bring the tree down on Thursday. But that's not for you to worry about. If you want to discuss anything I've talked about in this video, then please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope you got something out of this video. I actually hope you enjoyed it a little bit. Have a good 2022, and until next time, that is all. I actually do believe that I've now forgotten how to smile, because I used to say it with the all. So shall we try it again? And until next time, that is all. We didn't lose it. We can still smile, people. I will see you when I see you.